Everybody, we are going live right now. It's Tuesday night. Welcome. Let me get this going right. Here we go. Second. All right. Welcome, everybody. This is Matt Monarch with the Raw Food World. Rocking the cucumber juice now. Just waiting for the numbers to build up for a second. Just got out of the hot bath, sweating. And let's see what the question arena looks like today. Okay. All right. We got some good questions. I mean, many questions. If you want to ask questions, you can go to news.therawfoodworld.com/live. Crystal Alexandra writes, just straight cucumber juice? It is just straight cucumber juice. As I've talked in the last couple hangouts, I'm on this raw vegan keto thing, and I can't drink anything that in large quantities except cucumber juice without messing myself up. I've tested everything. Anyways, my keto strips were supposed to be here last week, and now I had to order more, and this guy is bringing it by hand. I'm getting extremely frustrated because I'm stuck and I can't go anywhere. Like, am I in ketosis? If I'm not, can it even be done raw vegan? Like, come on, I need to test. I want raw with sugar. I can't take it anymore. All right. So I'm tired of cucumber juice. If it's not working, let me go and do what the heck I want. No, if it's not working, which I'm sure it is, then I will alter one last time with coconut oil because I'm doing no saturated fat just to see what happens. I'm pretty certain that I'm in ketosis though, but if I'm not, we will test it out, some other methods. And then if I'm still not in ketosis, guess what? I'm out of here. Oh yeah. So here we go. And all right. Matt, do you crave fruits on the keto diet? I'm like a machine. I can handle whatever when it comes to food. As I scream about chocolate. I'm kind of joking with that, but kind of, but not really. I could do anything. I'm not impacted by that type of thing, but fruit would be nice. Looking back at it, like sugar kind of, not fruit, but it kind of would just give me this like, ugh. Anyways, let's keep reading what she said. Do you find you have enough energy to run? Also, what would you recommend if I'm allergic to all avocados, coconut, nuts, seeds, and trying doing this diet? I am raw vegan, thank you. Well, if you're allergic to avocados, coconuts, nuts, and seeds, then I wouldn't try a raw vegan ketogenic diet because I just wouldn't do it. There's nothing for you to eat. But anyways, do I have energy to run? Yes, I've been running. I run, I do calisthenics. I still have the energy to do that. However, I go through ups and downs. With the sugar, it's like sugar gives you immediate energy. While if you're gonna do like a crazy burst of exercise, sugar can provide that. Ketosis, ketones will kind of like let you be stabilized for long periods of time with energy, but it's not like if you need energy immediately, it takes time to kick in, if that makes sense. Compared to what sugar could do, it'd just be like boom. But I go through ups and downs still with the keto thing. A lot of the time I have so much energy I could run like crazy and do my calisthenics, and then other days I have a hard time doing it, but I still push through it and do it. But it feels really good when I do have the energy. And I would say the majority of the time I do. But I guess even with sugar, I might have the same issue, but maybe not. Everyone's grilling me on the ketogenic diet when I'm about to pull my hair out. Can you describe the difference on how you feel on this diet versus high fruit raw food diet? Thank you. I was never on a high fruit raw food diet. I've always done more fat, but now I've just eliminated fruit completely. I do, when I wake up in the morning, smell like cucumber juice, like I've been sweating it out. Look, I've been eating sugar all my life. On the raw foods diet, I've been eating crazy amounts of sugar. Not crazy amounts, but I've been eating sugar since the day I was born. And then 4 weeks ago, I went on this raw vegan ketogenic diet thing and eliminated sugar completely. I still feel like I'm not balanced out 100%. And I'm going through ups and downs. The ups are awesome, and the downs are, I can handle it, it's no big deal. But for everybody, like look, I'm doing an experiment right now with this raw vegan ketogenic diet thing. I'm not recommending it. I'm not recommending anybody even go on a ketogenic diet. First off, the reason why I feel the ketogenic diet is so good is, number one, you're eliminating processed foods, refined sugars and processed starches, which are the most to the human body. That's extremely profound. And many people are asking me, like, they're wanting to just go raw vegan ketogenic or just ketogenic immediately now after watching like the scientific reasoning behind all the benefits of it. And many people are coming from a space of eating very poorly or eating a high raw food fruit diet, because people get messed up on this 80-10-10 diet thing. And one guy was like, I want to do raw vegan ketogenic right now, but I'm having issues. So the first thing that we can do is eliminate processed foods completely. And you don't even need to do a ketogenic diet. That alone will be profound, and you don't even need to go further. After a couple of years of doing that, if you feel, you can then look into maybe taking it to another level and messing around with this ketogenic thing. And it also depends on your circumstances, your situation. For example, if you have diabetes, then it'd be more likely, it'd be more beneficial. Or if you have epilepsy or Alzheimer's disease, then it's extremely beneficial for a person to eat high fat, low sugar, or no sugar if even possible. So with that being said, this person who wanted to go from like 80% carbs to a raw vegan ketogenic diet, I honestly feel the 80-10-10 diet can be damaging to the human body, as many people have come to me with issues with that type of diet. And so what I'm telling the guy is, don't go on a raw vegan ketogenic diet. Just eat less fruit. Just like tip it balanced, and then you can take it further later. But first, let me get my keto tester before I rip all my hair out. No, I need this keto tester to actually see if I'm in ketosis. I'm doing the blood ketones. The P strips I've heard is just useless, not very accurate. So tomorrow, I'm going to do a video. When I first do it, I was going to do it tonight on the Hangout if I had the strips. But what I'm going to do is test twice a day for 3 days straight, eating the same exact diet, make sure everything's in balance, see if we're in ketosis, and then a whole new level of information is going to come out after that. It's going to be crazy. And keep in mind, I'm eating very little coconut oil. I'm trying to do this without saturated fat. I'm doing it on the premise of eliminating sugar completely and just eating a lot of fat. And then once I have the blood ketone strips, because I have the tester, what we're going to be doing is playing around after that. We could be like, okay, if I eat coconut meat, which is kind of higher in carbs, because I'm not eating coconut meat too for that purpose, is that going to throw me out of ketosis? Can I eat cashews? Because that's supposedly high in carbohydrates. Will I still have the same ketosis numbers? So when I get the strips, we'll be able to play a lot of games here and see what's going on. I'm excited to have out. First, still on its way. And it's someone else. So now I'm saying to someone else who's 3 shipments of ketone. Nothing like living in Ecuador. Okay, so the differences that I feel on this diet versus versus a fruit diet. Okay. One thing is I'm eating very clean right now, just because I'm doing this experiment. I do have more of a sharpness of, like, I feel cleaner, but then there's other days where I'm just like sweating cucumber juice like crazy. But there is a subtle difference here. There's more energy on one level, but then there's less energy on another level. It's all up in the air, and it's a big thing, eliminating sugar from your intake. So I still don't think I'm fully balanced out yet, even though I have extremely good days. So I still need more time, and I need these ketosis strips. And then I'll let you know the differences. Am I even in ketosis? Is a question. What I'm drinking now is cucumber juice. I need lots of liquid. And when I went, before it was coconut water with carrot green juice or carrot celery juice, but that's loaded with sugar. So then I tried coconut kefir water and I overdosed on that for 2 weeks and then I vomited. And then we talked about that in another hangout. And so then the only thing that I could drink copious amounts of liquid is cucumber juice. That's it. And I like it. I sweat a lot. I go in the bath for an hour until I can't even breathe anymore. That's another thing. I can't last in the bath as long doing what I'm doing now. The sugar makes it easier. But when I'm out, I'm just like, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. Nassim writes, hi, how can I join the live hangout for tonight? It's on Google, or do I just post my questions here? Right here, you are here. Jamie writes, is it similar to the pH miracle diet? The keto diet is, I don't know. The keto diet is pretty much eliminating sugar from your intake. So instead of burning sugar as fuel, glucose as fuel, you're burning ketones as fuel. And as I stated in the ketogenic hangout that I did, which has like 10,000 views now without any advertising, what happens is when you're using sugar as a fuel source, there's a lot of more metabolic waste. There's something called AGEs, which are advanced glycation end products. And these guys, what it does is it will kind of glycate protein and lipids. Normally an enzyme does this. But what is happening is sugar is doing that, creating advanced glycation end products, which are damaging to the human body. They've been stated to be the cause of Alzheimer's, diabetes, arterial plaque. This is when you're eating overloads of sugar, and things like this. Also, it's been stated that AGEs can actually cause candida overgrowth, making the candida that's there more elongated and stuff like that. So this is from eating too much sugar, and the majority of Americans are. For example, 1 teaspoon of sugar is all our blood can really handle at one time. And then anything more, or 2 teaspoons, 1 to 2 teaspoons. And then anything more than that is kind of toxic to the human body. The body will give excess insulin store it as fat, and that's why we get bigger and run with all these degenerative diseases and stuff like that. So when you start using ketones as fuel, it's more of a clean burning energy. There's not really that much. You're using your mitochondria. There's no metabolic waste involved in the situation compared to sugar. And it also upregulates the use of your mitochondria, and it also mirrors calorie restriction, intermittent fasting, brain-derived neurotrophic factors go up, which is really good for the brain, long-term thinking, higher thinking, all of these other things. It's found depleted in depression and Alzheimer's disease. This is why it's good for Alzheimer's, epilepsy, and stuff like that. And it kind of makes your DNA more compact, protecting you more, boosting your immune system. Other signaling pathways open up, which enables us to like mitigate inflammation in the human body. It actually gets rid of inflammatory cytokines, which cause inflammation in the human body. So lots of cool stuff, the science behind this ketogenic thing. And that's why I'm playing around with it, to see what kind of benefits I get. Yeah, so mirrors calorie restriction. So therefore, they say in mice live longer when that happens. Also, there are certain cells that get damaged. They're called senescent cells. And when you're doing calorie restriction or something like a ketogenic diet, instead of sitting there causing all sorts of issues and inflammation, what these senescent cells do, when you're doing calorie restriction, these things get cleaned up. It shows that in clinical studies, which is pretty cool. It's called autophagy. Okay. So let's read the next question here. Okay, good. Out of this ketogenic thing for a minute. Or let's see here. Brenda writes, will aguaje powder help with premenopausal symptoms? Okay, someone is also asking, is this an alkalizing diet? I think you're awesome for sharing your diet experiment as you go. Thanks for sharing. As I pull my hair out. No, okay, so is this an alkalizing diet? The raw food diet is an alkalizing diet. And an alkalizing diet isn't always what we want to go with necessarily. When a person is under a lot of stress, you create excess cortisol. And when cortisol is created, we lose acid through the urine, making our bodies even more alkaline. I think that we're actually a little bit too alkaline in today's day and age with all the stress going out on compared to acid. This is why apple cider vinegar is so good. And also what are we looking at when we're looking at acid versus alkaline? There's many different areas in the human body. For example, the stomach is supposed to be 1 to 3, which when it activates enzymes that digest proteins. If you don't have an acid stomach, then you're not going to activate these enzymes, and then you're going to have undigested protein causing gas, bloatedness, burps, things like this. And so apple cider vinegar kind of helps acidify the body, the stomach. Also, the colon area is also, for example, the beneficial bacteria produce lactic acid. It's more of an acid environment. And I think that we've been focusing so much on becoming alkaline, and with the amount of stress that's happening in today's day and age, I honestly think people have it backwards. You might want to be taking apple cider vinegar to help with your digestion, acidify your stomach, and things like this. So I'm not really a big fan of the whole entire pH miracle diet, drinking alkaline water and stuff like this. Okay, so the aguaje powder, will that help with premenopausal symptoms? Okay, so aguaje has something called phytohormones in it, a high quantity of it, and the locals swear by it for premenopausal symptoms. So they say it's really good at balancing the hormonal system. If you have too much estrogen, then it will help regulate that and make it lower. If you have not enough estrogen, it will help regulate, give you more, blah, 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 blah. It helps balance the hormone system, is what they're saying. Plus it has 7 times more beta carotene than carrots. It's got some protein, another vitamins, vitamin E, selenium. It's really good for it's good stuff. Okay. I'm sorry if you answered this. Do you think high fruit, low fat isn't great? Yeah, I don't think that's good. I actually despise it. I was doing low fat, raw vegan for a while, switched back to high fat, low carbs. I felt like my body needed fats for calming. It seems like fruit can stress adrenals. Well, what fruit could do? Okay, so fruit is okay, everybody. Don't worry about this. Eating too much fruit is the problem. It's eating too much sugar. When we're eating a lot of sugar, this can cause hormonal issues. It creates insulin. Insulin has to come into play when sugar is elevated. Now, the main issue for most people is not necessarily fruit, but refined sugar. There are statistics out there that show that the average American is eating 22 teaspoons of sugar per day. And I've even seen 33 teaspoons. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And this is what we really have to look at. But what sugar does is it spikes insulin. And then insulin can cause also insulin's good, but elevated insulin can cause all sorts of ruckus in the human body. Number one, insulin will take glucose and will create fat storage if we have too much sugar. It will store it as fat in the human body. That's like the worst for most people. That's what they don't want. So that's one issue with insulin. And then there's many, many other issues with insulin. For example, there's studies showing that when your insulin levels are, Facebook went off for a second. When insulin levels are high from eating a lot of sugar, this can cause your glands to produce more oil and create inflammation and cause acne. Also, it's related to PCOS. When insulin is really high. And then also when you have too much insulin, especially if you're doing 33 teaspoons of sugar per day or 20 teaspoons of sugar per day, when you have too much insulin like this, what happens is your body will be like, okay, this is just way too much. This is damaging to the human body. You start getting a fatty liver. The body will start taking excess fat and putting it over there. And then all of a sudden the liver will say, hey, this is too much insulin. Stop it. And then it will prevent insulin from coming in anymore, and now you have insulin resistance. So now you are starving your body while you have too much insulin at the same time. You're starving your body of insulin while having insulin too much at the same time. It's like, and then you get fat because now you have all this insulin running around the human body, creating belly fat and stuff like this. So then what most people do is when their liver starts to become insulin resistant and your liver stops functioning correctly with this type of thing, most people go on something called metformin, which forces your liver to accept the insulin again. So what is this going to do? Your liver is stopping it for a reason. The goal is not to take metformin, but to eliminate sugar or drastically decrease it. So now you're going to overtax your liver, your kidneys are going to fail, all these different things. And that's like, many people are looking for the doctors are looking for the Band-Aid approach, if that makes sense. So this is just one of the main issues with eating too much sugar. And then also they're saying, we talked about this last week, Susan Kraft, who is a researcher at a university, states that if you have insulin resistance in the body, then you have amyloid plaque in the brain. And there's also research showing if you have elevated levels of insulin, if you have insulin resistant, your brain is smaller, which is also kind of similar to Alzheimer's and stuff like this. So this doesn't mean go on a ketogenic diet, This just means we want to be eating responsible amounts of sugar and no refined sugar. We've got to eliminate the refined sugar and carbs. Carbs is like refined sugar on one level, because what happens is it's slower absorbing, yeah. But when you take protein, the body breaks it down into amino acids and it utilizes it to build tissue. Same with fats. It breaks it down into fatty acids and utilizes it to rebuild tissue. It's very beneficial to the human body. Now, when you have starches, such as pasta and bread, what this breaks down to is glucose. And this doesn't rebuild tissue. It's used as an energy source. So there's no necessarily benefits in rebuild. It's a macronutrient. There's no micronutrients here. So when we eat elevated amounts of these things, refined we don't even want to be eating, then we're spiking insulin and issues can be caused. Okay. Okay, so the question is, do you think high fruit okay, we already answered. Okay. I was doing low fat, raw vegan for a while, switched back to high fat, low carbs. I felt like my body needed fat for calming. It seems like fruits can stress adrenals, is the question. So so now we're taking this to the raw food diet. Eating crazy amounts of fruit, like 30 bananas a day or whatever that is not healthy to the human body. You're going to be spiking insulin and having similar effects. It's not going to be as damaging as refined sugar, but it is not ideal for the body. And so what we're playing around with is keep raw vegan ketogenic diet, see what it does, see if it's true. Also, they say that science shows that inflammatory pathways are shut down when you're doing this type of thing, or deregulated, not as used as much. Also, free radicals and oxidative stress goes down. I just had some fresh apple cider vinegar last night. Awesome. Are the girls on the same diet as me? No. Hey, Lisa Love from Playa del Carmen. What is your background? How did you acquire all of this knowledge? Well, so I've been on this raw food diet for almost 20 years now. I've been in this raw foods movement, a leader, forefront of the raw foods movement for almost 2 decades. We do raw food retreats here. We've seen people heal from all sorts of things from doing this type of stuff. But yeah, I don't have any doctor backgrounds or anything like this. I just study here and there on nutrition and health. What is your background? Okay, you talk about juicing with Vitamix a little bit during the last Hangout. I have been doing that way for a while and have been wondering if it is really that much of a difference from Norwalk hydraulic press juicers. When I do it, it only needs to run for less than 1 minute and grind the veggies, and I don't need to use any water, nor it generates any heat for that short period of time. Interesting. What kind of vegetables are you doing? I know if you have the hydraulic press, that is less waste because the press is powerful than squeezing a nut milk bag by hand. Although I can pretty dry pulp because isn't it basically the same mechanism as the hydraulic press? You probably know very well about juicing, so I would love to know what you think. Okay, so what we have here is probably the Norwalk is here, Vitamix is here, and the green star is probably like right here. And then there's other juicers in between. The benefit of the Norwalk juicers that we have right over here, you can't see it right now. There's the Norwalk juicers. We got 2 of them for the retreats. Is not the press. It has nothing to do with getting as much juice as you can. Who cares about that? it's the triturating process where you break down the vegetables. What you have is you're blending it. Here is like a triturator process, which has been claimed to open every cell of the vegetable, making it extremely bioavailable. And no other juicer does it as well as the Norwalk triturating process. It's the actual blending process, not the pressing, that's so good about the Norwalk. The press is, who cares about that? You can take a blender and press something, and you're oxidizing it more. Or you can take a champion juicer, which we all know is not the best nutrient quality, and then you could press that. But the press doesn't change the fact that you just heated it up a lot, or it didn't break down like the triturator did over here. Okay. Thanks, I'm not challenging you. I just want to learn more about this. Thanks for sharing, very cool. Where are you located at this moment? I'm in Vilcabamba, Ecuador. Thanks, Mary. Okay, let's continue on. It's not about the information, it's just it's all about just eliminating processed foods. I've been talking about this for 2 decades without talking about any science behind it. And it doesn't necessarily work for people. They want this jargon that I'm speaking to kind of like sink in there. All right. Am I a vegan? Yes, I'm a vegan. I'm a raw vegan. With that being said, if I wasn't on this raw vegan ketogenic diet, does honey count as vegan? I would eat honey. Bee pollen, I'll eat bee pollen. Okay. Elise writes, hello, hey Matt. I was wondering what your thoughts are on yerba mate. I've heard that not as bad for some people as coffee. I believe that I also read that yerba mate is higher in antioxidants than green tea. We're all looking for a little bit of an excuse to get stimulated, right? The best energy source is natural energy. When you start to use stimulation, we become dependent on that. And don't get me wrong, many of us have been drinking coffee for decades now, and you know, we become dependent on that type of thing. But what happens is when we wake up in the morning, what I do is I'll drink 32 ounces of straight water. And what this does is it kind of like it kind of pushes all the waste from the cleansing we did from the night before. This is like we fasted all night. This is like we went through a lot of cleansing. This is a really good regeneration period. Also, our body goes through cycles in the morning. For example, we have higher levels of cortisol, which enables us to produce energy for our brain in the morning. But it's a transition process to get to that phase of having high cognitive abilities and thinking and high energy. And this normal cyclical process that we go through happens naturally, where we get natural energy. But most people, what they want to do is just get stimulated first thing, when all they have to do is wait it out. Drink the water will help flush the toxins, and then just wait it out. Then you should have energy. But if you've been having stimulation for years, you're going to have to go through a withdrawal process. For example, today, I mean, I've been flying on this raw vegan ketogenic diet thing. Like the other day I was running, it was crazy. There's a big thing, and also recovery is critical when exercising. But anyways, so what happened was, so with this whole entire stimulation thing, you're going to be going through withdrawals if you all of a sudden just stop coffee or your stimulation in the morning, and then you're going to feel really bad. It's kind of like what I'm going through right now, eliminating sugar from eating it from all my life. And then I go through ups and downs. And then I go hang out with people. And then when I kind of compare myself to other people, I begin to realize, oh, now I'm beginning to see the benefits. That's kind of an interesting thing. It feels like I've been suffering for so long, but then when I compare from actually seeing my progress and results, it's actually very powerful. So, for example, here I am on this raw vegan ketogenic diet thing. I go through extreme highs for long periods of time, but I'm going up and down different periods. And it's very easy to get stuck into the down thing because time flies when you're having fun, but when you're low in energy, it just drags. And it feels like that's how you've been for the last 5 days when it's only been 2 hours, if that makes sense. So it's almost like if you start to eliminate stimulation in the morning, it's almost like reprogramming yourself. It's like a strain, and there's a dog howling. And then you go through a lot of ups and downs, and you just have to push through it. And that's with any type of dietary change. Any type of dietary change, you're gonna feel like crap. There's gonna be days where you have crazy smelly gas. You're gonna have other days where this happens or this happens. And you're just like, you know, right at the beginning of this hangout, I was saying I wanted chocolate. But there's times like that, and you just have to push through it. And then what happens is when you have a new solid routine, your body kind of adapts and molds around that routine. And it's like just sticking to the routine no matter what happens. In the long run, your body adapts to it, and then you're finally balanced out, and that's your new way of being. But you have to fight for it. So someone says, I want to get off that dependency. How? Well, there's many ways to do it. You can wean yourself off by drinking less coffee, and then keep going less and less and less until you can eliminate it completely, or you can just cut cold turkey. But if you cut cold turkey, it's going to be a lot more painful as you go through crazy withdrawals really fast. So the trap is, I just explained it, I'm just going to explain it in a different way, is when you improve your diet or get off caffeine or anything like this in any way, shape, or form, you're going to feel like crap. And you have to fight depression. You have to fight all of those things. And you have to get through to the other side. It's almost like you choose a new lifestyle, a new routine, and then you stick to it. And then you're no matter what, even if you're like driving to work, you're just like, oh, you can't even function properly. You're in a bad mood. You're like worried what's going to happen. All that is something that's happening on the inside of you at that moment in time, and you have to push through it. And on the outside, you just have to pretend everything's okay. And that's the secret in all instances. So you have a 24-hour time period that we all live through every single day. What happens on the outside, I don't want to say is a game or anything, but like on the inside is like almost like a battle, to make sense. And would you rather like suffer in the long run by eating crap and stuff like this and being stimulated through the day, you know, but then you go through issues because you know you're on your antibiotics or you're running into health issues or stuff like this. But on the inside, you're kind of just like you're just like kind of sliding along, taking the stimulants, but then there's all these there's a lot of suffering and pain there that you forget about when you're having a different kind of suffering and pain, which is when you're improving your diet or eliminating coffee. So that's the suffering and pain. That's the easy suffering and pain that is going to cause detriment in the long run in our health, physical, spiritual, everything. We'll become decrepit in old age, end up on antibiotics, all these other things. So when you improve your diet now, you're going through the same 24 hours of the day, but it's like sharp, hardcore withdrawals, moodiness, and it's almost like you're experiencing all this in that same 24-hour time period, but it's almost like money in the bank for later on in life. And you feel better. You start to get more energy, and time goes by. It's just like you're going through a molecular DNA cellular transformation here. And it's painful. It's like you're being stretched and ripped and transformed, if that makes sense. And it's more, instead of just smoothly going along into misery, mayhem in the long run, that's like kind of just like sliding right through life. It's almost like you're being ripped apart here. But would you rather look back on your life and say, hey, I went through that every 24 hours for a better life for me and my family, my energy. I'm not incapacitated. I have more focus. I have more life. I have all these other things, more energy, longer life with family, my grandchildren, their grandchildren, yada, yada, yada. Or would you rather be on the antibiotics and that other path of eating Twinkies? So you're going to find yourself, when you improve your diet, eliminate coffee or do anything like that, in crazy emotional withdrawal and also physical withdrawal states, to where you're thinking like, this isn't healthy. This can't be good. It's like you're going to be at wit's end. And that's like a sign that you're doing good. And it's like exciting. And then you're going to start becoming more beautiful. Like it's worth the beauty you're going to be experiencing, the weight loss, the glowing skin, all of these other things. You eliminate coffee and all these other things, your adrenals are going to improve. If you're addicted to coffee, then, I mean, you're probably overtaxing your adrenals and stuff like this. So it's like the suffering has incredible benefits. And then when we're in the grips of the worst state possible, even though we have ups and downs, we forget about the ups because that's like your time flies when you're happy. When you forget, when you're in the grip of the worst, you forget how you used to be sliding through in misery, knowing that in the long run you're going to be decrepit. In the long run, you're going to maybe be bedridden or on antibiotics because you've been eating all the way you've been eating. So we forget about the suffering and pain we were going just by sliding by the easy way when we're in the grips of it. So the point of all that is to be strong and to understand when you're in a state like that, that it's actually a good thing. All right. But with that being said, back to the yerba mate. Coffee, okay, so even teas, a lot of teas have caffeine. Like for example, black tea has 50% of the caffeine as coffee. So a coffee drinker who's trying to wean can do something like that, and they're drinking half the amount, unless they're drinking double the amount of liquid now. Saying, hey, it's okay, I'm on tea. So yerba mate and these other things can be less caffeine, and then it's kind of like a weaning off, if you want. And you know, a little stimulation here and there isn't bad. Are you dependent on it is the question. That's when we run into issues, adrenal issues. Okay, here we go. Matt, I saw David Icke in New York City 2 weeks ago and met a lovely woman in the audience named Diana, a nutritionist and healer. She encouraged me to look you up and possibly try to connect with you about a business idea I have about developing spiritual tourism. I know you had some experiences with ayahuasca and shamans. My experience lies more in India, Turkey, First Nation tribals in Canada, I'm also certified to do spiritual assessments due to training I had in a level 5 trauma hospital. I also have a degree of business from Ivy League. Would you like to dialogue about this more? Sure, you can write therawfoodworld.com, go to contact us there, or you can go to my Facebook page and write me there. Okay, Sarah. That talk was perfect about alcohol drinkers also. Okay, Sarah writes. Okay, before I go into Sarah's, Elise writes, how are you sleeping on the keto diet? Have you noticed any changes? I've been noticing I've been needing more sleep during the transition process. But now it's just normal. I wake up smelling like a cucumber sometimes. In the beginning, oh, no. That was when I was drinking coconut water kefir. I was overdoing it. I was smelling really bad. Okay. I was drinking like more than probably like 1.5 of these every night. And then finally I vomited. Okay. Hi, Matt. Does the enema interfere with the absorption of nutrition from the fruits and greens? Also, my hair grew back stronger after I started having more green juices. That's what we were talking about, the micronutrients. Started having more green juices, chia seeds, and fruits. Until one day, craving avocados, I went overboard, having 2 to 5 a day for 3 weeks. My hair got weaker. I also got an ulcer in my mouth. I'm wondering why that happened, since avocados are actually good for you. Now that I stopped having avocados, my hair is starting to come back. My ulcer is gone too. I noticed that when I'm having more avocados, I felt more relaxed and calm, never hungry and satisfied. Haven't felt this, that would be, okay. I haven't felt this comforting feeling in a long time since I went fully raw 6 months ago. I was more high, shaky, and less grounded with avocados. It also cured my indigestion and gas, which I was having since I went fully raw. I was terribly gassy. I was terribly gassy before the avocados. Now my digestion is so much better. I'm no longer in pain in my gut, and I feel good. Were the avocados just healing my body? I definitely felt like my body was asking for it. I'm curious to know why it weakened my hair. I don't necessarily know if it weakened your hair. I mean, is it coincidence, or I don't know. I mean, 3 to 5 avocados a day is a lot, but I mean, I was doing that in the beginning. I'm thinking. There's so many possibilities and scenarios, of course. But when you stop eating lots of fat, I'm looking at bile right now. Okay, so the liver produces bile, which breaks down fat into smaller particles to where it can get absorbed better. The pancreas also give off lipase to break it down even further. And so if you are not used to that amount of fat and you haven't been stimulating bile production, you might not be breaking down everything completely to where it could be, if that makes sense. And that's a lot. And have you had your gallbladder removed ever or anything like this? I mean, there's so many different situations and scenarios for every single person. So you might have overburdened the liver, which breaks down fat or bile, and because you didn't have enough bile. And what happens there is thyroid hormone, 80% of it is converted in the bile duct in the liver from T4 to T3. And when you start to become hypothyroid, things like brittle hair can happen. And if you're overtaxing the liver, there's a chance that maybe you're impacting the conversion process of thyroid hormone, which a symptom of that is brittle hair and stuff like that. That could be a possibility. And if that's the case, I mean, first off, that's a lot of avocados. But with that being said, and you've been on this, okay, so if you've been on a 100% raw food diet for 6 months, and you weren't eating that much fat, and you're eating mainly fruit, you have cleansed a lot and stuff like this. You've actually taken your diet to a new level, and now you're putting in ridiculous amounts of fat right now, which you've kind of like, your body isn't used to. So you probably want to like do normal amounts of avocado, like 1 a day, and see what happens there. The fat is really good for stimulating bile, which is really important in the human body. It also stimulates a lot of other things. For example, in our gut, we have these things called enteroendocrine cells, have gut hormones which send messages to different areas, different organs of the human body. Like, for example, it will tell our liver that and our stomach and other areas that proteins coming through or fats are coming through, get ready to prepare the juices and enzymes for this food. These are in the small intestines. And they're responsible for producing these gut hormones that make these communications. And when we become insulin resistant, the first thing that actually goes is not necessarily the pancreas or the muscles, or when we become insulin resistant, that shuts down. The first thing is these enteroendocrine cells within the small intestines. These are the things that shut down first. It's like the communication errors that aren't going out to all of these places anymore. And things like avocado, the vegetables, things like this stimulate these gut hormones. And when in insulin resistance, these gut hormones are what are lacking. And so this is one reason why refined sugar is no good, because the sugar culprits for causing this in the first place. So it's good to have some fat every single day regardless. You don't want to just be eating 80% fruit. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Okay. Have you considered peeling nuts? Absolutely. Peeling nuts, we're going to have back on our website probably in a week or so. They're coming in right now. Peeling nuts have the highest fat content compared to any other nuts, and they're extremely high in vitamin E. So it's like a very good thing. Yeah. Hi, Matt. Does burning ketones make the body overly acidic? I don't believe so. And it depends, like, what kind of ketones. Like, are you getting it from butter or are you getting it from avocado? And, you know, butter in moderate quantities is okay, but a lot of these keto guys, they'll be eating sticks of butter like it's going out of business. Allison writes, what if any value do you give eating according to the blood type? I'm expecting an eye roll, but I'm curious nonetheless. It's funny. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of blood type diets. I mean, it's good because generally they eliminate processed foods. The key forget all diets. The key here is to eliminate processed foods and eat healthy whole foods, raw and cooked whole foods. That's the key here. And now let's look at a cooked whole foods diet that's not ketogenic. Now, I'm doing something pretty extreme here. I'm experimenting and testing on a raw vegan ketogenic diet. Is it even possible? We're going to find that out this week with my ketone tester. But okay, so we're going to be testing this whole entire ketogenic thing. But most people, when they go on a ketogenic diet, they overload on animal protein, which is okay in moderate quantities, butter, crazy amounts of coconut oil, crazy amounts of butter, lots of saturated fats from animals, dairy, not necessarily dairy, but whatever. They're not necessarily eating the healthiest things. A lot of these bodybuilder ketogenic, and they smell, and it's just not, it just doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't seem like a good diet. It's good in the sense, okay, they've eliminated processed foods from their diet, so they're going to do very well, especially in the short run. In the long run, they might do well too, but I think it's a little bit too much. So it's hard to do a ketogenic diet that is not doing a bit too much. Like a good ketogenic diet, from my perspective, would be like salads, eating two huge salads a day. Eggs might be good, like one animal product meal a day, preferably eggs, and maybe one per day if possible. It's almost doing high raw keto. And maybe and if you're not going to do eggs, try something else, but try to stick. And that's not easy for a lot of people to do. And a lot of the sustenance that people get from food are from carbs. For example, a baked potato is on a cooked whole foods diet. It doesn't have gluten. It's not ideal, but if a person is going to go on a cooked whole foods diet and overdo crazy amounts of animal products, like overdo it, butter and things like that, or they're not going to go on a keto diet, but they do go on a cooked whole foods diet to where they're doing baked potato or quinoa or these other carbs, to where they're not overdoing those other things, then I think that's a healthier diet, because they're getting more sustenance and they can actually, it's easier to control themselves and get that sustenance. When you go on a ketogenic diet, it's not as easy to get that sustenance without overdoing it. If someone could do it, then that's great. If you could do it like 2 big salads every day, 2 to 3 meals a day, 2 big salads with the fish or with whatever you're doing in moderate quantities, then boom, that could be very beneficial if you could do that type of ketogenic diet. But if you're going from a processed foods diet to ketogenic, what you're doing is there's something called energy density of food. There's studies showing like that people lose weight when they just lower the density of their food. For example, if you're to take 10 pounds of processed foods versus 10 pounds of raw food, or 20 pounds of raw food, you could probably eat the 20 pounds of raw food versus the 10 pounds of processed foods and still lose weight. That's energy density. This is more water. So when you're going to a ketogenic diet from a processed foods diet, the energy density is low if you're going to do it right. And now you're going to be overdoing the animal products. I'd rather see people doing the quinoa and things like that than overdoing the animal products. Now, I feel that a more ideal diet would be eliminate, but we don't have to be doing that. But so I personally feel animal products are better, scientifically speaking, to the human body than these quinoa and buckwheat stuff and baked potatoes. Those aren't harmful, and you can get away with it and be happy in old age without any issues. But again, what does that break down into? You get some vitamins and minerals, but it breaks down into glucose and fiber, which is macronutrients. When you take animal products, now we're getting lipids, fatty acids, amino acids. This rebuilds tissue. So sometimes we need the empty calorie, like the other ones, just to sustain us to where we don't overdo other things that could be damaging to the body. Too much saturated fat, I personally don't think is good. Even though this whole new saturated fat movement has come into play, saying that saturated fat is actually one of the best things you can eat, and it probably is, but in moderate quantities. These keto guys are eating crazy amounts of saturated fat. And then if we look at the danger in all this, we were talking about earlier, advanced glycation end products, AGEs, cause a lot of in aging, Alzheimer's, diabetics, plaque in the arteries, renal failure, and stuff like this. And what this is when you have a lot of saturated fat, you have all these extra LDL floating around. And then if you start to eat sugar, when that's happening, now we're getting a lot of AGEs, because now these they can oxidize that and cause all sorts of problems. Generally, without the sugar, enzymes make these conversion processes, but now sugar is doing it. And when sugar does it, it creates these AGEs, advanced glycation end products. And it's also been stated that candida overgrowth also can be a possibility from these types of sugar with a protein molecule, which can actually elongate candida. So it's like a balanced diet, not too much sugar, like this can all be good. So I'm also still trying to figure this out myself about this keto thing. Maybe I'm not even gonna like it in the long run. That's why I need this keto tester. It's driving me crazy. Okay, your cucumber juice is a ninja green. It's because we started peeling the cucumbers before juicing them. Okay, this is interesting. There's not that many questions on Facebook today. Usually that's like going crazy. Okay, here we go. Elise writes, eating at least every 3 hours, more often for some people who have blood sugar issues, can help support stomach and acid production acidity. I'm not a big fan of that at all. Glucagon, produced when blood glucose drops, has been shown to decrease production of stomach acid. So I've heard that this is the reason that eating small meals often is supposed to be good for digestion. Me personally, I disagree with that 100%. Okay, first off, when a person has blood sugar issues, the thing that they have to do is like stop hiding the candy in their desk drawers and eliminate refined sugar. And they might have to do it slowly. They're gonna get shakes and stuff like this. But generally and there's certain situations where it's extremely extreme, diabetics and you gotta be very careful. But that's generally the answer there. Every time we eat, we spike insulin regardless. And there's other hormone, there's many different hormones in the body. And there's one called hormone growth factor, and IGF. And this actually, one of the things that it does, processes that it does, is it actually helps with fat burning. And the way to raise human growth hormone and IGF is, number one, is to not eat all day long and not snack in between meals. Every time you eat, you spike insulin regardless. Even everything spikes insulin. Just some things do it more than often. But if you don't give your body a rest, then these other hormones are going to just be dormant. So when you take besides burning fat, what also it can do is it acts as like, for in between meals and when we sleep, it actually can help with giving energy during these times. So, down for a second, waiting for it to reconnect. So the more fasting we do, the more human growth hormone, and sleeping too, this happens, it's good to get a lot of sleep, human growth hormone and IGF we produce. And protein actually stimulates this type of thing also. But we don't want to be doing too much protein because that could spike insulin. And you don't want to be doing protein with sugar because that really spikes insulin. Hi, Matt. What's a good brand of clean, trusted bee pollen do you know? Thank you. I really like our Jara bee pollen, which I have to order more of. We just have to get crazy amounts in order to do that. And I gotta like pick and choose. But that's probably my favorite. It tastes really good. Okay. Ayaka writes, that's really interesting that you mentioned how you can only drink cucumber juice and you need to limit drinks, because I was thinking the whole time that when you went on keto, and we're just eliminating sugar intake. I'm not limiting drinks. I'm looking for something that I could drink copious amounts of. And this is what I found. I started to experiment with it when you said in your Hangout a few weeks ago, because I thought was sort of fascinating idea with the changes in your metabolism. I also eat raw vegan during the first week. I did a journal with what I eat and the nutritional value, like fat, protein, total carbs, net carbs, sugar, and calorie. It was so depressing to know that even with low sugar grams, there are quite a bit of carbs and veggies, and even sticking with just greens, it kind of adds up to the end of the day. That's why I'm getting my blood glucose tester, the ketone tester, to see what's happening here. I allow myself to, I think it's okay. You guys have to understand something. Okay, so if you were to take dense bread and look at the carb content, and take a cucumber and look at the carb content, this is mainly water. This is extremely dense. So the high carb content here compared to here are two completely different things. There are quite a bit of carbs and veggies. And like someone also mentioned, like nutritional yeast has high carbs. It's not, where is our nutritional yeast? That's one thing, but how much are you eating? Like a teaspoon, tablespoon? It's like nothing. Okay. It kind of adds up at the end of the day. I've been drinking 2 of these a day sometimes. I do a lot of sweating and exercise out. This is why I need the keto tester. Then I could just be like, look, it doesn't matter. I'm in ketosis and I'm drinking this. I can't wait. Tomorrow. Okay. And also, what I'm doing, Facebook just went down again. What I'm doing is an experiment. I'm just playing around with this raw vegan ketogenic thing. So counting calories and things like that, that's like, anyways, it's gonna kill yourself. Okay. I allow myself 1 serving of green juice a day, which is usually 12 to 16 ounces, and I have with all greens with 1/4 of small lemon or lime. I can't really calculate my custom green juice, so I look at the nutrition. Okay, the way to do this is what I'm doing. I'm getting a blood tester. If I'm drinking this and I'm in ketosis, good levels, then it's okay. If not, then I'm not. Anyways, I stopped the journal because it's depressing. It also takes time. But it was good to get some idea of how much carb there is in types of food I eat daily. Vegetables doesn't matter. I'm still experimenting, but I'm not sure if focusing on keto is really the healthier. Yeah, I'm not saying that is either. I'm just gonna see, that's what this experiment is for, to determine that. I do think I could go lower sugar than I used to. Definitely, I was drinking so much sugar, I can't even believe it. There's no way that I'm gonna go back to drinking as much sugar through carrot juice and coconut water that I was before. So I've already gotten major benefit from it. I do think I could go lower sugar than I used to after the experiment, but I love my green juice and other things. The green juice is okay. That might not be so great for keto. And eliminating you gotta get the keto tester if you wanna do this. And those just to be ketosis might be more harm than good because you miss out on all the good vitamins and micronutrients. We're gonna find out everything soon, guys. I came across a lecture by this person where he put on a fasting mimicking diet for, it got cut off. What are your favorite non-masticating juicers? Masticating. I would say I would go the Norwalk juice is my #1 favorite, and then the Green Star. Or any Twin Gear for that matter. You are already looking younger, Joanne says. Thank you. Hey, Matt, what do you think about intermittent fasting? Thanks for all you do. It depends what you consider intermittent fasting. Does that mean some people consider it to be not snacking in between meals and just eating twice a day or 3 times a day without anything else? Or are we talking about like skipping one day a week of food? In terms of not snacking, I think it's extremely beneficial. Intermittent fasting, there are many clinical studies showing that it increases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factors, which is really good for our brain, and neurogenesis, which is rebuilding of neurons and regulating neurons and things like this. We were also talking earlier how it also takes out senescent cells that are damaged cells that cause inflammatory cytokines. So that's called autophagy when you do that type of thing. Rats live longer when you do intermittent fasting or calorie restriction. So it could be really good, especially, it's also been shown to be good for depression, maybe, Alzheimer's. But it depends like what you mean by intermittent fasting. Stacy is back, even though we had a little bit of a disagreement last week. Okay, let's take a look here. Okay, Patricia Williams writes, hey Matt, you might have answered this question before I missed it. What do you eat every day on this ketogenic diet in terms of fats, quantities, effects? I know that the 2 big salads, I know about juicing. My concerns are if I'm getting enough fat, are too much fats. Okay, everybody's different. For example, I've been on a raw vegan diet for almost 2 decades now. So therefore, I have transformed my body into requiring less energy density of food. Before I was eating crazy amounts of burgers and everything like that, and now I'm just eating salads. It took years to evolve to what I'm eating. So for someone to do what I'm doing would be a complete, because I've already done the evolving process. This is why this experiment is so good on me. So it's different for every single person. What I'm doing is I eat 2 salads every day and green juice. And in my first salad, I put lots of almond butter, sea clear, a little bit of chia oil. Oh, and then we have some apple cider vinegar. I change it up though, here and there. And then for my evening, I have an avocado, sometimes with olives, with ginger, apple cider vinegar. I have ginger that's been fermented in apple cider vinegar. I also take some reishi spore oil right before that with omegas and algae oils for DHA and EPA. And then I have a small spoonful of coconut oil macadamia mixture, like not even a teaspoon. What else do I put in there? Our Peruvian olives. Yeah. Sometimes I put spices. So we'll have to see. Looking at a graph of approximate caffeine amounts in chocolate, it looks like just 2 ounces can have as much as a cup of coffee or tea. Maybe, depending on the percentage of cacao. That's interesting. Okay. Stacy writes, how much do Norwalk juicers cost? Do you sell them on your website? No, we don't sell Norwalk juicers. I think they're like 2,000 to 3,000 these days. So that's why most people would prefer a Green Star juicer. And Valerie is back. I placed my first order last week. Awesome, thank you. From Raw Food World. I'm excited to get started on the superfoods. I chose the starter standard delivery. Can you tell me approximately how the delivery takes here in the US? Depends what state you're in. Which state are you in? If you contact customer service, they can give you a tracking number and you will be notified exactly. Facebook stop for a second. You'll be notified, you'll have a tracking number, you'll know exactly when it starts. But generally no longer than a week if you're in the East Coast. All right. Iowa. When did you place your order? contact customer service. They'll handle it very easily, quickly. Okay. Julia writes, hey Matt, my name is Julia. This is my first time on live. Awesome, Julia. I watched a lot of Hangouts on YouTube and enjoyed it a lot and learned a lot. Thanks for doing it. My question is about Crohn's disease. My sister has it for many years and she takes pills after each meal she eats. And I feel so bad for her. She can't do a lot raw. It makes it worse. Do you think juicing will be beneficial or make it worse? Any suggestions on this topic? Thanks. Okay, so in order to heal this type of thing, an entire dietary lifestyle change has to happen. And if she's not willing to do it, then what is juice going to do? It's like taking a magic bullet. No, the juicing can help give micronutrients, but she's got to eliminate the cause of the issue. Studies on Crohn's disease, I was reading some stating that people who did plant foods actually had less relapses and stuff like that. And I understand the aspect of how she can't do plant foods and stuff like this. It's a whole entire mindset life change she has to make. And she has to calculate how she can transition in order to eat a healthier diet. One thing is beneficial about like plant fibers is it feeds the beneficial bacteria in our gut. And it seems like she's been overtaken by it. Now she's taking antibiotics or drugs or whatever pills she's taking, which is probably killing off more things like that. I don't know the situation, what's going on actually. So, I mean, it's just people either go the natural approach and heal the cause of the issue, or they go the medical approach and they just do the Band-Aid thing and they end up with other issues down the line. The Band-Aid approach is to just hit symptoms. For example, many people go on hormones and then they become dependent on them just to keep the symptoms at bay, but then they run into other issues because they're not helping the underlying cause of the issue. So I hope that helps. You should bring her to a retreat. Okay, Jennifer writes, what's up, Jennifer? I know a lot of people that have a sensitivity to avocados if they eat too much. I mean, 5 avocados is a lot, especially if you've been doing mainly fruit for so long. Also, when you're using sugar as fuel and then you just flip to fat, your body's like, whoa, it's going to be mayhem. Everything in moderation. Also, avocados are a megaflora. They're high in potassium. Joe writes, Joe's coming to our December retreat. Excited to have him. I've been raw for about 1.5 months and I'm going to stay with it. Since April, I've had plans to go to a vegan food festival with friends. It looks like there will be juice but no other raw options. I'm wondering if having 1 or 2 cooked whole food items would be detrimental. I'm trying not to stress about it and think it could be fun day to connect with friends, but maybe staying home is a smart move. What do you think about one last day with cooked food? I mean, maybe 100% raw isn't for you. Maybe you should do cooked whole foods. They're both beneficial. The thing about restaurant foods, festival foods, you're not preparing it. You don't know what they're really putting in there, stuff like that. I'm just like, we got to be like, is there MSG? We got to be like seriously looking at the ingredients and doing things like this if you're on this type of path. But with that being said, I've gone to many festivals and I bring food. Live off of avocados if you have to. I don't know. It's just, but cooked whole food is okay. You just never know what's in there. Any suggestions for clearing up sinus infection without going to the doctor? So that's like a very broad question. Okay, so any suggestions for clearing up a sinus infection without going to the doctor? Who has the sinus infection? Is that you? What are you eating? Like, what, we have to look at what the cause is here. And then we have to figure out how to eliminate that cause. Yeah, so we have to figure that out. There's so many possibilities and scenarios. Candida loves the sinus cavity. And one aspect could be sinus infection when it comes to that type of thing. Or maybe it has nothing to do with candida. Maybe your adrenals are burnt out, and that's responsible for white blood cells, which reduces infection. Or maybe, see, there's so many possibilities. Or maybe you're eating bread, or maybe you're eating all sorts of things. Or maybe you just improved your diet and you're going through. There's so many possibilities. We got to figure out what the issue is in all of these situations. Amber Leon writes, have you ever made chia sprouts? I grew some by accident when I threw some over-soaked chia in a planter outside. And are they good to eat? Yeah, I think they're good to eat. Do you think intermittent fasting, along with eating smaller fruits and vegetables meals, helps speed the healing of the body? Going on a raw food diet from a cooked whole foods diet is practically fasting in itself, because what you're doing is you used to eat processed foods, which is extremely dense, and now you 5 pounds of food of processed foods, and now you're eating 10 pounds of raw food, and you're healing because it's mainly water. Just changing the energy density of your food from processed foods to cooked whole foods will do it. Processed foods to raw foods will do it, or cooked whole foods. That's all that's needed. If you're going to do intermittent fasting along with eating smaller fruit meals and vegetable meals to help speed up the healing of the body, that's like taking the fast path to withdrawals and detox, and you become cleaner very fast. And you're going to end up in a situation like the other woman who was just talking to us, to where now she can't go back to 3 to 5 avocados without issues. I mean, I can't do that right now. I've been doing this for so long, but in the beginning I was able to. So there's no necessarily need to push yourself. Just start slowly. Maybe you don't even need to do 100% raw. Maybe just start with cooked whole foods. And then you just have to stay strong once you've made the improvement. When you do such an extreme thing like that, failure is more apt to happen. Like your body starts going through convulsions as you pass like a pizza joint or something. Regarding intermittent fasting, I was thinking of eating within an 8 to 10 hour window each day. What do you think? Yeah, I do that. It's a very beneficial thing. Well, I drink a lot of juice. I've tried going 1 or 2 days without food, but my monkey mind takes over. I know, Sammy. I think about food too much. What do you think? Thank you. What are Sacha Inchi seeds? No, what are Sacha Inchi? Sacha Inchi seeds are high in ALA, omega-3 fatty acid. We have Sacha Inchi oil and the seeds. They taste good. The seeds are not raw. The oil is. You can't have a raw Sacha Inchi seed. It's impossible. If you were to do it, trust me, you don't want to be doing it. If you were to have a truly raw Sacha Inchi seed, you put it in your mouth, like your tongue gets turned and it's like something you don't want to be doing. There's a lot of, what do you call those things? Can't even think about it right now. Anyways, it's not something you want to be doing. So we have the slowest dried beneficial Sacha Inchi seeds that there are available, but it's low temp dried over long periods of time to where we can keep it lower, but it does go over the 118 mark. Has to. It doesn't say raw that like some companies do, which is impossible. Yeah, it's very beneficial. I've been doing that forever, eating within an 8 to 10 hour period. Can you do an update video when you get the Ketosis blood check done and a salad video, absolutely. Like, I'll probably have this thing tomorrow. The thing is, I have to do it for 3 days straight, 2 times a day, just to make sure like it's the same every single day, eating the same thing every day. I'm excited to see if I have to make any alterations. I'm excited to see if this is even possible, which I think it is, et cetera, et cetera. Do I need more coconut oil? So I thought that there was a chance I was going to get the ketone strips like an hour before this hangout. I was literally going to do the first one on this hangout. Maybe I'll wait till the next hangout so we could do it live. But I'm probably going to get them tomorrow, and I'll do a step-by-step video of all 3 days and put it out. So yes, I will do it. And then we're gonna, if I'm in ketosis, it's like a blessing because we can take the next step faster. If I'm in ketosis, if I'm not in ketosis, I have to play around to get into ketosis to see if it's possible. But if I'm in ketosis immediately, then I could play around with cashews. Maybe I have to, I don't know, like after a run, drinking carrot juice to get those micronutrients. Coconut butter, coconut meat. I'm going to experiment with everything. So this week is the week, and I've been waiting for this week so I can start playing and doing alterations. But regardless, for the last month, I've been in this straight. How long have I been doing this for? What's the date of that last video? I don't even know. Okay, let's look back on Facebook. Okay, we're already caught up there. Is Sacha Inchi powder not raw then? Generally, the Sacha Inchi protein powder is generally not raw. Yeah. Phoebe writes, hey Matt, I used yerba mate to get off coffee when I was having a very stressful week and didn't have any headaches, but instead felt better immediately. Sounds awesome. After 2 days of yerba mate and still no headaches, I stopped it, but that's how my body is responding. Doesn't it mean it will work for everyone that way? There's a lot going on that meets more than meets the eye. So no, but maybe. At some point, you have to go through withdrawals. It's when you eliminate it completely, the coffee, or when you eliminate caffeine completely, which isn't necessary, but that's when you can wean off and it's easier. But when you get to that very last bit where you're eliminating completely, that's when a serious unloading has the potential to happen. It's like a heroin addict. They go nutso when they eliminate heroin completely. But if they were to wean off, it could probably be a lot easier. But when they get to that last bit of eliminating heroin completely, they kind of probably will still go nutso. It's like once you eliminate something completely, then boom. Okay. I stopped it, but that's how my body was responding. Doesn't mean it will work for everyone. Okay. Also, if I wasn't supporting my adrenals, Facebook went off for a second, okay, and or still had supposed Lyme's disease, I would have a much harder time getting off coffee, even though coffee is the last thing you want to have when your adrenals are stressed. I've been looking forward to drinking my water like I used to in the morning and all throughout the day for energy, and I'd even get up in the night to drink it too. Thanks, Matt. It feels really good to be clean dietarily. Really good. When that sinus cavity is just like, it's like, whoa. Yeah. Lyme's disease. I'm not a fan of Lyme's disease. Many doctors won't even look at patients with Lyme's disease because they don't necessarily, like all of the agencies and medical institutions don't necessarily believe in Lyme disease. They call it the invisible disease, and I agree with them. It's more of a placebo thing when someone is presented with the fact that they might have Lyme disease from my perspective. I know this pisses people off when I start talking about this type of thing. But Lyme disease, they call it the invisible disease because they can't really diagnose it. They could diagnose it. It's like, it's based off of symptoms. I know there's a way to do it. Like you take certain drugs, and then if these antibodies show up after the fact, you've cured it or something, taking these things. But anyways, the medical agencies and all these other places, what they say is if someone has Lyme disease, which is extremely rare, all they need to do is take antibiotics for 2 weeks, maybe a month if it's a severe case, and then it's gone. They don't even recognize it. And then there's this whole entire camp. I'm not going to go too much more into this. I'm going to move on to the next question in a second. I'm going to stop there. It's just, it's also the same with fibromyalgia. There's no way to diagnose, there's no way to prove that a person has fibromyalgia. But anyways, the research, the medical institutions state that Lyme disease, if you have it, it's easily cured. Then there's a movement that is saying, no, that's not true. You are suffering, you are in pain, you have Lyme disease, let me support your suffering and pain. We will consult with you and And fibromyalgia is something similar. You can't even prove that a person has fibromyalgia. It's all based off of symptoms. Okay, let's move on. Joe writes, also, thank you for your advice on my question about the festival. I'm going to go with them, but eat before and enjoy juice during the festival. I'll be 4 months raw at the retreat, except for the Sacha Inchi powder I've been eating lately. Thought it was raw. It's not about raw versus not raw. It's about density of food, if that makes sense. For example, if you were to take maca and gelatinize maca, maca is more dense and heavier on the body than cooked gelatinized maca. That's easier on the body because all of those enzymes are taken out that can give digestive upset, and you're just left with secondary metabolites in a bioavailable state. Do you see where we're going here? This whole entire raw concept, when we start looking at raw as like as a cultish thing, not like science behind things. For example, dehydrated coconut chips that we have, that my daughter eats all the time, is way more dense than probably the gelatinized maca. I could probably eat a tablespoon of gelatinized maca without issue, but if I were to eat like a handful of those coconut chips, I'd probably have some digestive upset. What one is more harmful to the body? I don't want to say harmful, neither are harmful, but which one produces more stress to the human body? Valerie writes, laughter does the body good. Last week, when your college friends joined you online, I thought that was very funny. I belly laughed a few times. Yeah. So last week, if you were tuning in, I went longer than my usual time, and then some of my fraternity friends from college started coming on, and we started going back and forth. You can watch the replay if you wanted. It's at the very end. But it was very funny. They were just talking about how I used to drink, and I vomited in a car when they took me to Vegas. They kidnapped me to go to Vegas. Anyways. All right. There's no more questions. It's pretty crazy. Okay, so in the meantime, we still have 30 minutes here. Right now, we have our October at cost specials going. We have Ceylon cinnamon back in stock. I know many people have been anxious for us to get this back in. There's a proponent of cinnamon called curcumin that is a bit more toxic to the body, and Ceylon cinnamon from Sri Lanka tests for like 1,000 times less than that. And it's just a very beneficial cinnamon compared to the ones that are loaded with curcumin, like the cassia cinnamons and stuff like that. That is back in stock. We have all sorts of things. Our nutritional needs. Also, our December retreat is filling up. There's still space. December 20th or 21st to January 2nd, I think it is. Come join us if you want to have a grand old time. We actually have some people coming early, staying later too, some people. All right, so let's see here. All right, guys, anything else I want to share? Well, there's no more questions. Might have to call it an early night. Unless anybody wants to throw in some questions real quick. Ooh, here we go. Oh, now they're pouring in. Okay. Oh, this is Debbie. She was saying thing about the sinus infection. I've been on a cooked whole foods diet for almost a year. I don't eat processed foods. I just recently quit eating meat. I woke up this morning with sinus stuffed up and crud coming out of my nose. Okay, so sinus infection sounds a little bit intense. Okay, so if you just eliminated meat, I mean, that's a big thing. So now this can happen. It's more like time. Now might be a good time to mess around with some enemas if you really wanted to. Yeah. Martin writes, what kind of nuts and seeds or nut and seed butters are you eating besides almond butter? Or are you alternating and getting a wide variety over time? I haven't been eating nuts or seeds whole. I've been doing nut butters. Right now, I've been doing, what's up, Rita? Right now, I've been doing just almond butters in the morning. That's pretty much it. I did not macadamia. I did Brazil nut butter one time. But right now, I'm sticking with almond butter. Just wondering if my chunker daughter is working on. But right now, I'm just sticking with almond butter every day. I'm waiting for this keto tester to like start playing around. For example, I stopped carrot juice. This is like a big important thing for me, I feel like. But a break from anything is good. So sometime, I haven't done tahini, but I probably would do that. Okay, Phoebe writes, what's crazy is I didn't know what was wrong with me for around 8 years after seeing doctors, and no one could tell me, but never tested for Lyme's. I couldn't think or feel anymore. And finally, at the last minute, a naturopathic that deals with this and other things like fibromyalgia, but they don't diagnose, just said I was high in spirochetes, and doctors would call it Lyme's. It is in Marietta, Georgia, and tests with a metal rod and in a machine. It tests energy in the body. Well, there you have it. There's a group, okay, so wherever there's business potential, there's someone there for it. For example, some people go to the doctor because they have symptoms of a high thyroid. They're overweight. They want something to be wrong with them. They go to the doctor and the doctor says your TSH is normal. You do not have a thyroid disorder. And then they get pissed. Something's wrong with me. And then if you read on the internet, there's these guys, do you have an overactive thyroid? Or no, do you have an exhausted thyroid? it just flips back and forth and da-da-da-da-da-da. Come to us. We can diagnose your issue if the doctors won't. Anyways. Will my stomach get smaller after many years eating this way? Am I going to require to eat much less over time? A lot of long-term raw fooders say that. It's not about your stomach becoming smaller. It's adapting to requiring less density foods. That's all it is. A lot of long-term raw fooders say that. I think it's a nice thing to do to not feel hunger. But I do enjoy eating a lot. Is that going to happen to me too? Did you say you can't have 4 avocados now because it's not like when you first started many years ago? Yeah, that's true. Because before, when I first started, I was eating chicken patties, and the energy density of the amount of protein and fat in 2 chicken patties every morning, and then a can of tuna in the afternoon. I don't even know what I ate at night. I don't even remember. The energy, the density of that food is a lot more dense. So I stopped eating that, and then I started eating 3 or 4 avocados. That is less energy density than this. So my body was able to handle it at that point. But then when you start eliminating things from your intake, you go through withdrawals of all that stuff. Your body becomes more efficient with less food, and you require less food. And then 4 avocados would make me a mess right now, without a doubt. So, yeah, over time, you end up requiring less food, and then as time goes on, you can eat less and less and less. But it's an evolving process. Probably for 7 years, I ate a lot of avocado. And that's not what you're looking at isn't the problem. Balancing out on the raw food diet with the 4 avocados is difficult enough. You're looking at 3 steps ahead, and you haven't even finished the first step. So what you deal with what you're at now, and that's difficult. It's more difficult. This step that you're going through now is more difficult than ending up on only eating 1 avocado in the future. Evolving your entire body system to eat only raw food is a huge endeavor. I went through a lot of eating issues through the times and stuff like that. And then I balanced out. And then you just don't need as much. It's like you're satisfied. It's like this first step is the step to get past. And then the rest is cake. Because this first step sets ground for when you are ready to eat 2 avocados instead of 3 avocados. It'll be easier for you because you have the foundation. Hi, Matt. What is the best eye support? Carrot endive parsley juice. Got flashing and floater. Thanks, Romy. That would be the best, along with eliminating processed foods. Patricia, I answered you. What was your question? I don't remember. Okay. Why do you continue to do what you do? Why do you continue to do what you do? Do you find you get tired to saying the same things over again? Oh boy. How do you manage, this is the same person, how do you manage weight gain that comes from stress and you're not at and you're not at a point where you can remove that stress, school. Are there foods, etc., that can support the body during stress? There are foods, yeah. It's more of like the elimination of foods that can support you, that cause issues, insulin, raising of insulin and stuff like that. Okay, so stress is perception. One person can go to school and not be stressed out about it, while another person can't. So it's almost like, what's the difference there? Just like one person can control their anger, while another person can't. So it's like we got to look at that and work on that. But stress supporting foods would be green juice, because that produces, that has a lot of potassium in it. And potassium is really good for, it actually counteracts cortisol and supports the parasympathetic nervous system, which it actually counteracts cortisol. And when we stress, we actually give off, like we said, acid, but also potassium, sodium, calcium, things like this. We dump that. So green juice is like the ideal thing for a person to do, but also we want to eliminate refined sugars and processed starches, because then your body functions better. You can handle more stress, less insulin. In terms of saying the same thing every week, I don't say the same thing every week. I mean, there's some overlap there, but I change things up. I study more. I give new information every week. All right. My friends and I are wanting to dye our shirts with the blue from spiriting and probably the orange from turmeric. Any suggestions on this for success? This isn't necessarily my forte here. How beneficial is drinking turmeric milk? And is it better to use raw or dry turmeric in the recipe? What kind of turmeric milk? Like, what is turmeric milk? Sounds good. Spirulina, spirulina. Diet with spirulina. So they meant to say diet with spirulina, not spiriting. In turmeric. I don't know, you'll have to just do experimenting. I have no idea. What coconut water brand will you suggest to buy in the US? I don't buy any coconut water from the store. I actually got sick when I tried that once. I just would only get straight coconuts. Either the Thai coconuts, I don't like those because they're very high in sugar. The ones here aren't as bad. But you can also get them from Florida, the green coconuts. They're expensive because you have to ship them to where you're at. I did it for my daughter. But that's what I did. Okay, Ben writes, so many raw fooders even seem to slip back into whole foods or go vegetarian, most often for health reasons. What do you think the reason for this is? One question is, how long did they really do it for, and were they playing around with other things? But it's not an easy thing for most people to do. There's a whole emotional, spiritual aspect. So it's like doubt comes in, all different things come in and play with you, and then it's like they're in a state of depression, something's wrong with me. Everybody thinks something's wrong with them. The body naturally goes through ups and downs. It's unavoidable. The body needs rest. It needs sleep. It needs to regenerate. It needs to rebuild. It gets gassy. Sometimes you smell. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have a rash. Sometimes you don't. The body goes through ups and downs. It's our vehicle. This is normal and it's completely okay. But people start to freak out when we get uncomfortable. And then the whole entire spiritual aspect of emotional stuff comes in, and depression and something's wrong with me and da 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 da. It must be this raw food thing, and then they just fall off the wagon and blah 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 blah. Okay, so certain doctors and other fairly recognized health experts seems to not recommend the raw food approach, mainly for lack of animal fats found in algae, raw seeds, etc. For example, ALA converts badly to DHA. Cheers from Thailand. Well, a lot of these people are selling EPA and DHA products from fish and krill and things like this. So, and there are studies out there that state that we don't necessarily need as much as but then there's other studies saying you do need it. So again, all of this scientific information that we're sharing here was asked for. So that's what we're doing here. In the earlier Hangouts, I was giving the direct approach. But all this jargon and scientific information can make a person mad. It's important on some level. But what I'm saying is, don't freak out about certain things. Just do what you feel is right and things like that. I take a DHA supplement from algae, and maybe raw foods isn't ideal. I personally think that if your body is functioning optimally, that ALA can be converted into DHA and EPA, even though some say that it's not possible. But regardless, I take some of these DHA, EPA things just for the heck of it. Turmeric milk is either made with freshly made almond or coconut milk, along with freshly grated ginger, ground pepper, sea salt, cinnamon, turmeric, coconut butter, or coconut oil. Sounds good to me. The best, I like our turmeric for many reasons. We have a turmeric extract. Or if you're just using straight turmeric, raw is good also. The Hangout's coming to an end in 7 minutes, so I don't want to talk about turmeric. I have an entire 20 minutes to talk about turmeric that I need to talk about. But there are studies showing that curcumin isn't necessarily the only active ingredient in turmeric. There's many others, and many people like to sell curcumin supplements, when in clinical studies that I actually have show that there are other compounds in turmeric that actually are better for cancer than curcumin in petri dishes. Also, it's stated that a lot of these other components have been shown to be just as good as anti-inflammatory and things like that. It says either like almost as good or as good. But for cancer, the whole entire root seems to be better. But our extract is the whole entire plant broken down into a very fine, micronized, potent turmeric compound, full spectrum turmeric compound, and there's nothing out there like it. As I stated before, we utilize the same type of machinery as pharmaceutical companies. We have access to this type of thing. And that's why it's so potent. I just got a new bag of turmeric. I don't know where it went. I'm gonna start using it. Can just raw fruits and vegetables naturally regenerate and strengthen the hair without superfoods like chia seeds? Will eating lots of chia every day strengthen hair? The best thing to strengthen hair is cucumber juice, because it has a lot of silicon and sulfur. These are micronutrients. These are the most, vegetable juice is the most absorbable micronutrients available. That's why it's so good. We're talking about silicon sulfur. So cucumber juice would be really good for that. With carrot cucumber juice, and alfalfa and lettuce. Boom. Those 4 vegetables, cucumber, alfalfa, lettuce, and carrots. That combination, watch what happens to your hair. It's gonna start getting longer, your nails will be less brittle. It's like the perfect combination. I want a quintessential, and quintessential. Make sure you're getting your minerals. This covers your grounds for depleted mineral soils and stuff like this. Quintessential. So when you do the whole keto thing, you lose a lot of salt. And I've been noticing the days I take 2 of these, I never take 2, until I started this keto thing, are the days where I have the more energy. So maybe the salt is my issue. So that's the problem. It seems to me, we're going to go to Facebook next, that when people try to change too many things in their diet at once, it's too emotional and physically difficult. I usually recommend that people make a few changes on a period of time so they're easier to stick with. Of course it's difficult, yeah. This is like why people don't do it. But we do want to get rid of refined sugars and processed starches as soon as possible. Okay, let's look here. Okay. Hi, Matt. Angela from Toronto. What supplements do you recommend for hypothyroidism aside from the kelp and selenium? And referring to what you mentioned about someone becoming insulin resistant, how long approximately does it take to reverse it and heal it once you eliminate the causes, high stress and food triggers? Just asking in general, not saying I have insulin resistance. That's when you can eliminate sugar completely and go on a keto diet for a temporary period of time to reset everything. Could be done very fast, I believe. Very fast. Maybe do a ketogenic diet for 3 months where you eliminate sugar completely, and then boom. Hypothyroidism, is this it's not an autoimmune, it's just hypothyroid. I mean, this is like a whole entire, we've talked about this in these hangouts. Unless you had radiation exposure, thyroid issues are generally secondary to something else. So if you were to take, for example, we were talking earlier that T4 might not be converting to T3 correctly in the liver, because 80% of T4 converts to T3 in the bile ducts of the liver. So if your liver is messed up, this could be the source of your thyroid problem. If you don't have enough bile, that could be the source. Or maybe you are eating all sorts of endocrine disrupting foods like factory farmed animal protein, which creates all this estrogen that competes for the thyroid cell receptors. And then that could be the issue. Or maybe you're constipated, so now your liver is messed up, is backed up, and you can't convert it. Or this, or that, or this. So generally, or maybe it's your adrenals are messed up. So the thing that we got to work on is the rest of our body. And so if you have hypothyroidism, the key balanced diet, healthy cooked whole foods diet. Okay, and then supplements. We've got the kelp, like you mentioned, that's probably the best thing. But if it's like a liver issue, then you might want to be drinking green juice to provide potassium and other magnesium and things like this. Also, many people have digestive issues, and bile, as we talked about earlier, breaks down the fatty acids, the fat, into smaller components. Some people might need more bile if they aren't getting enough of that. Other issues might be hydrochloric acid. You need apple cider vinegar in your stomach because it's not acid enough. Maybe you need slippery elm bark to help with your constipation. Maybe an enema. I don't know. It could be loads of anything. Depends what we're trying to support here. If it's the adrenals, he sha wu would be good. Apple cider vinegar is really good. That kind of flushes the liver. Someone tells me to call them. It's better that you email me and then I'll respond that way. I'm in Ecuador. My hair is falling. My hair are falling way too much. What can I do? I started keto, but not vegan, and I feel increased anxiety and increased heart rate. No matter who you are, every time you wash your hair, you have handfuls of hair. It's just what happens. One hair professional told me that you lose like 9 hairs a day or 8 hairs a day naturally. That's just like natural. So if you wash your hair every week, 8 times 7 is 56 hairs. That's like a ball of hair. It's okay, it's normal. Mosquito. But other things you could do is what I just stated. Have the cucumber, alfalfa, carrot, lettuce juice. If you can't get all 4 ingredients, just do 3 or 2 of them. Also, if you're stressed, here, this looks like your issue. Your hair is falling out too much, what can I do? And then you are freaking out. I feel increased anxiety and increased heart rate. That's the problem right there. The increased anxiety and increased heart rate. That is a issue. Too much stress. So right there, that's what you need to work on. You don't freak out anymore about it. Work, like when someone stops their anger, they focus and they just watch it. They don't want to get angry because there's kids around or something like this, and they just kind of like watch it dissipate. It's the same thing with this fear, anxiety, increased heart rate. You could do the same technique in order to stop the stress, because high levels of stress, what happens is you have progesterone, pregnenolone, which is a hormone, and when you stress, you create cortisol, and to get to cortisol, pregnenolone has to break down into DHEA and progesterone. And progesterone is responsible for fertility. The progesterone is like getting ready the ovum and stuff like that in the uterus. And then that gets depleted, and the DHEA gets turned into androgens and testosterone and estrogen. So now you're kind of like eliminating all of these things, and what is this linked to? Hair. So a lack of DHEA has been shown to produce obesity, depression, and stuff like that. how was I linking this to hair? I'm not really 100% sure. But anyways, excess cortisol and stressing out has been shown, what they state has the potential to impact hair growth. I was watching it in one video. So getting that whole entire stress thing under control is important. It's like you're producing excess androgens from stress. That's what's happening. You're producing excess androgens, and then that can create issues with the hair. And then also, this whole entire insulin thing, if you have too much insulin, what was it? It converts, I'll have to restudy that. I can't really think of it offhand. I'll have to figure it out. Why did you decide to peel the cucumber now? I wanted to be cleaner so I could drink. I drink copious amounts, and it felt a little bit more harsh. What journals do you read on a regular basis? Do you go to places for information? No. I just study. I read Google. I watch YouTube videos. I'm like looking for things. I search out things. What are your thoughts on Ayurvedic dosha constitution type and foods and herbs suggested to balance them? I'm not a huge fan of the whole entire Ayurvedic movement. There's kind of like they say you can't do raw food because of damp and We do have a line of Ayurvedic herbs. Our ashwagandha is very powerful. As we were stating earlier, we use the same type of machines that is not available to anybody in the health food movement. Even the big time herbal companies don't have access to this. It's what the pharmaceutical companies use. And it's micronized and very potent. People claim that theirs are strong or stronger. If you were to take a quarter teaspoon of Arpacopa, it's recommended an eighth, or if you take a half a teaspoon, you get the runs. You probably take a tablespoon of our competitors and have no issue because of the potency difference. Dear Matt, I have been enjoying your channel immensely, and I just started a mostly raw food diet. During my second week of eating mostly raw, I had intensely spiritual experiences and spiritual experiences. Spiritual experiences that I cannot put into words. Everything was extremely vivid and incredibly, almost painfully sensitive. I was so glad to see you mention the spiritual effect of raw eating and purification in your videos. Have you noticed that spiritual opening happens more during the initial detox, or does it just continue to unfold more and more? Okay, so in the earlier Hangouts, we talk about spiritual very much so. Like that's probably the first 20 Hangouts. I don't even know how many there are, but you probably want to go back, not necessarily the very beginning, but start watching those. You'll probably be blown away. But you get the most profound experiences in the beginning because it's such a difference compared to what you're used to, the focus, all these other things. And so it's like we'll say it's like this, you get a big boom and then it's just like slow after that, up after that, because it's like your everyday norm after that. So yes, it's definitely a very powerful thing for spiritual purposes, but as stated in these other videos, there's other things that are more profound. Yes, my hormones are a mess, and also infertility. Okay. Hi, Matt. I'm going on week 3 of the ketogenic diet, and I'm starting to get my energy back, and I have much smaller appetite. This has clicked with me, and I want to thank you for inspiring me. If I do get a sweet craving, I have been making some delicious recipes using organic cacao, chia, and some coconut milk. I also put in my tea. Are you okay with using stevia? Thanks, Tia. Yeah, I'm okay with using stevia. I'm just like, at the beginning, I was playing around a little bit, even though I do want to eat chocolate. I just want to know if it's working or not. And I want to like I want the keto strips so I can get to the next level here. Because if it's not doing anything, and if I make the alter anything, then I'm just going to go back to having some fun here. But me personally, I don't need sweet. I don't need fat. I don't need anything. Like I could just go and just, as long as I can make my meal taste good, I can make anything happen. I've even heard the former educator of Nordic Naturals claim that you don't need to eat so many omega-3s if you just stop eating so many 6s and 9s. Seems like more of an attempt to balance the ratio. Eating less of the less healthy fats could possibly have a much of an effect as eating more healthier fats, omega-3s. Okay. You said in the beginning today that in some ways you have more energy now. In some ways you have less energy. Can you elaborate? Good question, Martin. Yes. I'm going to do this question and one more. And then we're going to call it a night. Okay, so how can I explain it? Okay, so there's like this, there's a clean energy involved with this. Something that I don't deal with anymore. Okay, it's like there's less mucus from sugar. It's like a vibrational difference. It's almost like like a mucusy. I don't want to like. I mean, I kind of like that also, like eating that way. It's just like it seems like a little bit dirtier, if that makes sense. In the vibrational experience of in the bloodstream. Yeah, so that's the benefit. It's very clean. It's very clean. Now, in terms of the less energy, okay, for example, yesterday, maybe it's the salt thing, I don't know. Yesterday, I did my exercises. I had no issues. I did all my calisthenics and I actually took a break to recover. Recover is important. And I was flying. I felt great. When I was coming back, I even sprinted. I never sprint at the end. That's how much energy I had. But then today, I'm sitting there doing calisthenics. I'm like, oh, just getting through it. You know, it's like with sugar, it's like boom, or stimulation, it's like boom. So it's like, and I'm not like jacked up today. I wasn't jacked up to like just go beyond, above and beyond. So that happens. I don't want to say frequently, but it happens many times a week to where I didn't have that before. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It could be many various things. First off, the transition. Number two is sugar energy is just a bam, boom, you have it available to you right then. Yeah, so I got to keep going and moving forward here. Functional integrative doctors recommend diets such as low FODMAP paleo diet for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. What are your thoughts on healing small intestinal bacteria overgrowth? Would a ketogenic diet help? The reason why a ketogenic diet would help so much is because you're eliminating refined sugar and processed starches, which is the damaging components of that. The main thing to do, I think, would be eliminate processed foods. Right there alone would be big time. And eating salads. And then if you want to get probiotics, some sauerkraut, they say, coconut kefir water, which I'll never drink again. Yeah. But the main thing is diet. It's like this. The fiber is what feeds the beneficial bacteria. The good fiber, and it produces replication of the beneficial bacteria rapidly. There's many different things you could do. Also, people state that the endocannabinoid system can actually help with leaky gut. There's many things that can help. So like even small quantities of CBD, because there's CBD receptors in there that can actually be utilized to close those junctions. But the main thing is diet. That's like the main thing in all cases. If we can just eliminate the crap, that's like the main thing we have to worry about, the processed foods. In terms of eating a ketogenic diet for beneficial bacteria, it depends. I mean, what are you eating on the ketogenic diet? If you're overdoing the animal protein, if you're overdoing the butter, then it could be even damaging from my perspective. There's studies showing that if you eat too much animal protein, that it can impact the gut microbiome. Also, there's studies showing that eating too much butter will increase endotoxin absorption into the bloodstream, which causes inflammation. So moderate quantities, okay. If you're not eating sugar while you're doing that, it's even better. But the main thing is just to eliminate processed foods and eat real food. Okay. Let's read here real quick. Thanks for answering my questions. Based on your response, TCM also doesn't agree with eating a raw food diet either. Also because they claim it causes excess dampness, and certain foods like carrots eaten raw doesn't break down the cellular structure. Yet to me, it's just outdated information, since if you juice a carrot, it breaks down the cellular structure. What are your thoughts? These micronutrients from juices are like the best thing that we could be drinking. That's what repairs, regenerates, and rebuilds our bodies. This is critical micronutrients. The green juices, the carrot juice, the quintessential micronutrients, reishi spore products, the pine pollen, all of these, royal jelly, all of these micronutrients are critical for the rebuilding, regenerating, and repairing of the human body, staying young, becoming more beautiful. And when you look at a carrot not being broken down and getting the nutrition, of course, we're not even chewing food like we used to. Our main food that we get some nutrients, but that's mainly to sustain us and get fatty acids and amino acids. The micronutrients are what's critical. Those other things are easy. But we don't, if you're gonna eat a big salad, how much of it's really gonna get broken down and turn into nutrients? It's the green juices I feel is ideal for that. So when you, there was something else there. Oh, it was good. So all of this information in terms of micronutrients versus macronutrients, it's important to be getting these micronutrients in. This is what regenerates, rebuilds, and repairs the body. And when we eat food, it doesn't necessarily, we're not getting necessarily micronutrients in the quantities that we want. And it's these green juices that help our hair grow, make our skin beautiful, and it's also the elimination of the damaging foods to the human body, such as refined sugars and processed starches and trans fatty acids. So there you go. There you go. Just think if it's going to come back to me or not. All right, guys. Could green smoothies be just as good? No. It's good, but not as good. But that it works. But if you want ideal absorption, then we're looking at the juices. This is like a mineral juice. And my ketone strips should be here tomorrow. Tomorrow, I tell you. Okay, so you might want to investigate the other contributing factors to SIBO, which is small intestinal, the bad bacteria, such as antibiotics and other medications, as well as dietary factors before attempting to treat it. Right. Good, you're getting your green star out. What do you think is a good breakfast? Depends like what you generally eat. For most people, I don't recommend, most people I don't recommend a 100% raw food diet. It's not like most people aren't able to succeed on it. When they get to those emotional standpoints, it's just a little bit too much. For the general person, what I recommend for breakfast would be like eggs. If you could just do egg yolks in an omelet, that's even better. But if you can, that's fine too. Eggs with avocado. That's like a really good breakfast. Or not me, I don't eat that type of thing, just so everybody knows. And some people even put a little bit of cheese on there. Hey Matt, have you ever heard of a blood disorder that makes a person unable to produce the B vitamins? Taking B12, yeah, they can't methylate B12 properly. Our patches have helped people with that, our B12 patches. Taking B12 has always made me feel sick and made my heart race. Now I have to just recently learn that a blood disorder I have makes me not. Who told you you have this blood disorder? And how did they determine you have this blood disorder? Eggs are highly allergic. To what? How can eggs be highly allergic? What do you mean? All right, guys. I could just sit here all night. But anyways. Okay, guys. It's been fun. Thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow, I get the keto blood strips, and then we're going to start doing testing. Yeah, the MTHFR, they took a blood test. I'm not a big fan. Okay, why did they even take the blood test? Did you go to them saying there's a problem with you, and what was that problem? I also have MTHFR. Hannah, it sounds like you tell me you have everything. Thanks for answering. I was also looking for your thoughts on TCM, claiming raw food diet causes dampness and spleen deficiency. I disagree. I mean, if that's the case, then guess what I have? I have nothing. Anything for pain in legs, started to wake up with muscle pain. What you can do there, you could try taking apple cider vinegar. That might like help it immediately. right. All right, I'll try to do some, if I can remember. Crystal, can you tell me, did you research on this MHFR, whatever it is? Danielle, I'm off now. All right, guys. Come back next Tuesday to ask your questions. It's already 9:30 here. It's been fun. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Ding. And now we got you guys. Stop that one too.